Norman Leslie Robert Franks is an English writer who specialises in aviation books on the pilots and squadrons of World Wars I and II. Biography. He published his first book in 1976. He was an organisation and methods officer with the Nationwide Building Society in London before he retired. He now lives in Bexhill-on-Sea, East Sussex, with his wife Heather. They have 2 sons, Robin, Mike, and 5 her children. He was a consultant for the Channel 4 television series Dogfight: The Mystery of the Red Baron. His 1995 book on the Red Baron has been published and reissued by 3 publishers. He is also one of the founding members of the Cross and Cockade Society for World War I Aviation Historians, which was formed in 1970, and a member of Over the Front, the League of World War I Aviation Historians. In total, he has authored over 120 books covering military aviation. Published works: Franks, Norman, Double Mission, Fighter Pilot and SOE Agent, Manfred Shannon, ISBN 0-7183-02540. Franks, Norman, Fighter Leader, The Story of Wing Commander Ian Gleed, DSO, DFC, ISBN 0-7183-01064. Franks, Norman, The Greatest Air Battle, JEP, the 19th of August 1942, ISBN 0-7183-03962. Franks, Norman, Wings of Freedom, 12 Battle of Britain Pilots, ISBN 0-7183-01978. Franks, Norman, Sky Tiger, The Story of Sailor Malin, ISBN 0-7183-0487-X. Franks, Norman, The Battle of the Airfields, the 1st of January 1945, ISBN 0-7183-04489 and AMP, ISBN 1-9023-0442-X. Franks, Norman, The Air Battle of Dunkirk, ISBN 0-7183-03490. Franks, Norman Unshedder, CJ Tempest Pilot, ISBN 1-904010-385. Franks, Norman, Typhoon Attack, ISBN 0-7183-05132. Franks, Norman, Aircraft vs. Aircraft, The Illustrated Story of Fighter Pilot Combat Since 1914. Grub Street, American ed. Was issued by Macmillan OCLC 13093976-192 pages. Franks, Norman, Forever Strong, The Story of 75 Squadron RNZAF 1916-1990 Random Entry ISBN 9781869411022. Franks, Norman, Bailey, Frank. Over the Front, a complete record of the fighter aces and units of the United States and French Air Services, 1914-1918. Casemate Pub. Franks, Norman, Giblin, Hal, and McGarry, Nigel. Under the Guns of the Red Baron, the complete record of von Richthofen's victories and victims, fully illustrated, ISBN 1-904943-977. 224 pages. Franks, Norman, Guest, Russell, Bailey, Frank. Bloody April, Black September. Grub Street, 314 pages. Franks, Norman, Who Downed the Aces in World War I. Grub Street, Franks, Norman, Guest, Russell, and Alegi, Gregory. Above the War Fronts, the British 2-seater bomber pilot and observer aces, the British 2-seater fighter observer aces, and the Belgian, Italian, Austro-Hungarian and Russian fighter aces 1914-1918. Grub Street, 218 pages. Franks, Norman, The Greatest Air Battle, JEP, the 19th of August 1942. Grub Street, OCLC 59,641,309. Franks, Norman, Bennett, Allen. The Red Baron's Last Flight, a mystery investigated. Grub Street. Reissued as a paperback in 2006, OCLC 145,733,071. Franks, Norman, Bailey, Frank. The Storks. The Story of the Les Cygons, France's elite fighter group of World War I. Grub Street. 160 pages. Franks, Norman, Bailey, Frank, Duvan, Rick. Casualties of the German Air Service 1914-20, as complete a list as possible, arranged alphabetically and chronologically. Grub Street. 362 pages. Franks, Norman, Holmes, Tony. Albatross Aces of World War I. Murdered Books International. 96 pages. Franks, Norman, Newport Aces of World War I. Murdered Books International. 96 pages. Franks, Norman, Wingarden, Greg Van, Holmes, Tony. Fokker Drive I Aces of World War I. Osprey Aviation. 96 pages. Franks, Norman, Buck McNair, P. Canadian Spitfire Ace, The Story of Group Captain R.W. McNair DSO, DFC in AMP, 2 bars, LDH, CDG, RCAF, Grub Street OCLC 61,755,760. Franks, Norman, Giblin, Hal. Under the Guns of the Kaiser's Aces, Bohm, Muller, von Tuchek, Wolf. The Complete Record of the Victories and Victims. Grub Street. 192 pages. Franks, Norman, Sopwith Camel Aces of World War I. Osprey Publishing. 96 pages. Franks, Norman, Holmes, Tony. Sopwith Triplanes Aces of World War I. Osprey Publishing. 96 pages. Franks, Norman, Jaster Boelk, The History of Jaster II, 1916–1918. Grub Street. 224 pages. Franks, Norman, Ton Up Lancashire, a photographic record of the 35 RAF Lancasters that each completed 100 sorties. Grub Street OCLC 57,640,345. Franks, Norman, Sopwith Pup Aces of World War I. Osprey Publishing OCLC 71,345,188. Franks, Norman, British and American Aces of World War I. The Pictorial Record. Schiffer Military History OCLC 61,658,494. Franks, Norman, Frank Chota Carey. The Story of Group Captain Frank Carey CBEDFCAFCDFM. Grub Street.